Hello and welcome to Bookish and Beverages. I'm Melissa and this is Nayeli. She decided to join me for a recording today, and I'll be sharing a delicious beverage and a summary recap with spoilers on fantasy book series so you can remember what happened without having to reread it. Today we'll be diving into A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. This is book number 1 in the Sacred Stones Trilogy. It is a completed series with 3 total books. And all right, we have 2 reminders before we start. One, you have been warned. There are full spoilers ahead. So this is a book summary recap. And so we'll be going over all of the main plot points, characters, world building, plot twists, and cliffhangers if there are any. And second, this is only a summary recap. This is not my review or my opinion on the book. However, I may have some input from time to time. Now, our beverage is an orange spiced black tea. You'll need your very own mug and then your strainer of choice if you're going to use loose leaf tea. So I have this strainer that goes right in. There's also these fun types of strainers that drop right in, or you can use a French press. So you'll need 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of loose leaf black tea. Depending on the strength, it can range, or you can use 1 to 2 black tea bags. You'll need 1 teaspoon of dried orange peels, or if you don't have that available, you can use a splash of orange juice, but you'll use that at the end once everything has done steeping. Then you'll need half a stick of cinnamon, and you'll break this up and put it in. And then you'll need 2 whole cloves. Add those in as well. And then add 1 cup of boiling water. You can see that color already. Then this one comes with a nice little cap. Let it steep for 5 minutes. All right, it's been 5 minutes, so you can go ahead and remove the tea bag or your loose leaf tea and items. So if you are using the tea bags, you'll still want to strain everything else out. And you don't want to let it steep too long because then tea leaves can tend to taste bitter after they've been steeped for too long. Then you'll add your sweetener of choice. My favorite is honey. You can also do stevia or some maple syrup, a little bit of sugar if that's your cup of tea. Look at that beautiful color. Give her a nice little stir. And cheers. All right, so let's dive on into our book. All right, so our story starts off in the Kingdom of Amber in Arwen's hometown. So, world building back up, there are 9 holy stones that make up Evendel's continent core, giving way to the 9 different kingdoms. So we have the Onyx Kingdom, Peridot provinces, Opal territories, Quartz of Rose, Amber or Kingdom of Amber, Kingdom of Citrine, Jade Islands, Pearl Mountains, and the Garnet Kingdom. So basically, Amber and Onyx are at war right now, and Amber's not doing too hot because Onyx has a really nice army and a ruthless leader. So Ryder, which is Arwen's brother, was drafted into the war along with their childhood friend, almost lover boy Halden, and now it's been a year since she last received a letter from him. So Arwen, in the meantime, works as a healer in the infirmary, I can never say it right, but she also has a secret healing light powers. Unfortunately, that powers does not extend to healing her mom, who is the only person that does know that she has these powers, and her mom has been sick since she was a little girl. Now, later, she's having dinner with her mom and her sister, Lay, when all of a sudden, Ryder pops in, and Ryder is injured, but he's alive and well in District 13. He did escape he was the only sole survivor from his band of brothers when the Onyx Bros attacked them in a trap, and on his way out, he stole a bag of Onyx coin. Unfortunately, his dumbass was spotted and followed by another band of Onyx Bros, and so now he's here at the house, filling in his mom and his sisters, and so his plan is to escape to the Garnet Kingdom. So they're on their way to go escape, and the medicine wasn't in the vials. So for the mom, so Arwen has to run back to the house, and when she gets into the kitchen, there's the Onyx Bros waiting for her. Well, just waiting for someone. So she's refusing to give the information to Lieutenant Bart about where her brother is. So he's just like, all right, we're just going to have you killed. So in order to save her ass, she offers to heal one of the injured Onyx Bros in exchange for her life. So she's about to heal this Onyx Bro, and Bastard Birdie Boy is there, so she can't hide her healing power, so she still goes through, heals him. They see that, but they still want to get her brother. So since she's a healer, she offers to go with these Onyx Bros back to wherever they're going to go, to the Onyx Kingdom, in exchange that they leave her family alone. So now it's off to the Onyx Kingdom that we go by their pet dragon. All right, so we make it to Shadowhold, and she is placed in a dungeon. This is when she finally allows herself to break down. She just has a whole anxiety panic attack. And then once she finally recovers from that, she meets her handsome cellmate. They kind of chat for a little bit. Then she goes to sleep. Finally, next morning, her handsome cellmate is missing. So then Barney, this is the Onyx Bro that she healed, takes her to the apothecary infirmary, and that's where she's going to be doing her work. There she meets Mari, who is this crazy, like talkative redhead, and she's also works in the library, so they become like instant BFFs. The next day, she kind of meets her other grumpy old coworker. His name is Dagon. I always want to call him Dagden, but it's Dagon. And so then he's just like, all right, piecing out early from the office today. And so she's all alone. And then who shows up? Her missing handsome cellmate. And he's shirtless and he's injured. So she goes off to heal him. So while she's healing him, she asks him if he can help her escape. And he says, denied. And then someone comes in looking for him because he is still a prisoner at this point. And he jumps out the window. How? She hasn't figured that out yet. So later on, she finally devises a plan to escape using the butcher's son, since she got denied by the handsome cellmate. But while she's back in the dungeon, the handsome cellmate shows up yet again. They have a nice little chit chat. He leaves. And so now it's time for her to make the great escape. So she heads on out, but she gets caught by none other than Bastard Birdie Boy. And just when he's hauling her off to have his way with her in his tent, he runs into the handsome cellmate. He interferes, but he's a prisoner too. Wait, nope, we find out he is the wicked, ruthless king of Onyx, King Cain Ravenwood. So he unleashes a can of whoop-ass to Bastard Birdie Boy and has him sent off to the dungeons to be tortured to death, basically. And after their chit-chat, Arwen chooses to stay in the Onyx King's service as a healer, along with better accommodations, as long as he finds her family for her. So later, Arwen goes to spill the tea with her grumpy old coworker, and then he offers to teach her to sword fight every morning before their shift. And then so later, now that she's there for the unforeseeable future, Arwen goes and visits Mari, and she spills the tea about everything about her. And Mari offers to help her find a cure for her mother. And later, Mari does find a potion for her mother. And luckily, Arwen has all of the ingredients except for one that she's going to have to brave the Forbidden Forest for, and to find only during a lunar eclipse will it bloom, and that's the only time. So she ends up joining Cain and his Onyx Bros on a hunt when they go into the Forbidden Forest. So they reach an area where there was, in the clearing, where there was an attack. And so they do their whole like CSI montage, and Arwen kind of goes off on her own to find where this plant will bloom. So she finds the area, everybody's packing up, getting ready to head back to the castle, and Arwen asks Cain if she can stay and just kind of be out in nature for a little bit. So he takes her over to a pond. They go race. Arwen wins. Yay. So now they're in the water, attraction's building, they're having a nice little chit chat. And then Arwen asks if she can go home. Why can't he set her free? And she is denied yet again. So now they have an awkward ride back to the castle. And because she won, she gets to ask him one question that he has to answer truthfully. And she basically asks him why put on the Wicked King Act. And he basically tells her, like, well, all the rumors that you've heard about me, those nasty rumors, they're probably true. And my only job is to save my kingdom. So insert our morally gray character right there. So later Later, she meets up with Mari, and she reveals that she is a witch, and she asks Arwen to help her steal an amulet. And where is this amulet? Of course, in King Kane's study. So they go off on a little adventure to perform a heist, and unfortunately, they run into a demon owl pet that is his pet Strix. And right as it's about to attack them, because Arwen's trying to distract it, Mari finds the amulet, Wingardium Leviosas its ass, and then they escape. So later, the next day, she's back at work with the grumpy old coworker, and he now teaches her how to use her powers so that this way she is not draining herself. So later, she's just exhausted from doing all the adventures, all of the trainings, and so she decides to take a nice bath soak, and then so she gives herself some down under TLC, thinking and fantasizing about the handsome king. And next thing you know, Kane is barging into her bathroom and she's butt ass naked because he thinks that she is in trouble. And so finally they're chit chatting and he asks her if she can join him for a night out. So Mysterious won't tell her what. And then, of course, finally, when she's in the bathtub trying to go get a towel, he sees the scars on her back, and we have a feral fandom moment where we're like, who did that to you? So next night, the mysterious outing is actually a war meeting with all of the other nobles. And so they're having their meeting. Arwen speaks up about a plan. Yay, go Arwen. And at some point, some Onyx bros come in and interrupt the meeting. Meeting ends. So a couple more bring in 3 amber captives. And guess what? One of them is our almost lover boy, Halden. So obviously Arwen recognizes him. He recognizes Arwen, and he's a little bastard, and he's just all like, she was supposed to be my wife and I still love her. So Arwen is begging like not to kill him, and so Kane gives in and just sends the captives to the dungeon instead. Griffin points out this is like a weakness because the stupid almost lover boy was manipulating all of them. So anyways, Arwen goes and she visits Halden in the dungeon. And so he basically asks her to help him break him out, and then that she can go with him. You know, they'll both be saved. So then later, Arwen goes and spills the tea to Mari, and Mari helps to plot to break Halden out. So then later, Arwen sneaks into the dungeon again once they have a plan put together, and so she goes to share that plan with him, which is going to be the night of the banquet party when the King of Peridot is coming to visit. Now it is the night of the banquet party, and Arwen is all dressed up and sexy as hell, and so she's wandering around, getting a little buzzed, and that's when she sees a pretty blonde flirting with King Kane. A little jealousy spikes, so she goes over there, and guess who that pretty blonde is? None other than Amelia, the Princess of Peridot. So Kane notices her jealousy, takes her aside, and walks her into the wine cellar where they can have a nice little chit chat, but all of a sudden the walls and everything go shaking and they get trapped into the wine cellar. She kind of has a panic attack, and then he helps her. So basically then they start chit chatting. Kane tells her like, me and Amelia, we're done. And Kane now warns her against Halden because she did say like, oh yeah, that why we're in here, the whole thing, it's an explosion, and he's kind of dipped out. So finally, Kane tells her the reason I'm like warning you against her is because Halden is is an assassin for King Gareth, and he is assigned to kill the Fae. Hold up. The Fae still exist. All right, so let's buckle up for a little bit of story time with Kane. So, long story short, evil King Lazarus is the last full-blooded Fae. In the Fae realm, resources were running out. The Fae were breeding with mortals because they're more fertile, so now there's more mouths to feed, and the realm was fueled by light, with an E, which is a unique Fae power. With the mingling of the Fae and mortals, there were fewer and fewer Fae to create this increasingly rare light. The Fae realm turned into a wasteland, and the evil king didn't give a shit. So the refugees left and fled to Onyx because that was the kind of the closest place for them to go to. And the evil king did not like this, so he closed the border so no one else could leave for the sake of their security. Well, a seer delivered a prophecy, and the spark of a rebellion to save the realm began. But it failed miserably. Only 100 or so Fae escaped to the Onyx Kingdom, and that's where they still remain. So, now, Evil King has struck a deal with King Gareth of Amber. So he promised him riches, powers, light with an E, in exchange for the land of Amber and to help kill off the traitorous Fae, in Onyx. So that was just like a major info dump. And Kane and Arwen start to get a little cozy. They're kind of drunk. And then all of a sudden, Commander Griff opens the door, finds him in there. Later, the next night, is the lunar eclipse and Arwen's chance to get this blooming plant that she needs to make her mother's potion. So what does she do? She makes a solo trip into the Forbidden Forest. And of course, she finally finds where the bloom's supposed to be, but there are 2 chimeras in the way. So now she goes up against the 2 chimeras. Chimera number 1 follows her into the pond, starts to drown. Chimera number 2, really, really sad. So she ends up saving Chimera number 1. Both of the chimeras go off happily. And then so she runs back to go pick the bloom and gathers as much as she can. And suddenly, who shows up? This weird-ass wolf beast man. And so she tries running away from him. And then she figures out, like, nope, I gotta fight. So they're fighting to the death. She's not doing too hot. He's kind of dealing her these killing blows, and then finally he's just about to kill her when Chimera number 2 comes and attacks the wolf beast man. She finds the power, has her Valkyrie montage with all her sword fighting that she learned from her grumpy old co-worker, and she's fighting him to the death and finally runs him through with a sword. Anyways, so she's about to pass out, and then Kane comes and rescues her. So Arwen is worse for wear, and she is being healed and taken care of, and she is in a strange place. She doesn't know where she's at, and then there's this like weird shadow moment that happens, and everything turns dark, and she's like, what the fuck? But she falls asleep. Next thing you know, she wakes up, she's a little bit more healed, and she's in Kane's bedroom snuggling up with him. Kane and Arwen end up taking a nice little walk in the garden, and Arwen reveals the truth about her scars. And so she tells him that it's from her stepfather beating her back in the day. And good thing he is dead, otherwise I'm sure Kane would have gone and killed his ass for her. So now it's Kane's turn to tell the truth, and he spills the tea that he is actually the King Fae's son. He was the one that led the rebellion, and he has these dark light shadow daddy powers. Ooh, we got a dark-haired shadow daddy. Anyways, so he tells her that the wolf beast man was actually a Fae mercenary. A bunch of them have been sent before, and now the Garnet Kingdom has fallen to Amber. So for her safety, he's sending her over to Peridot. She asks if Mari can come with them, and it's a heated moment of them saying goodbye because he's like, you got to get out of here now. And so our enemies to lovers finally kiss. All right. So now Mari joins Arwen, Griffin, and their entourage into Siren's Cove. They finally get to the palace in Peridot, and they settle in. Amelia visits Arwen in her room, and she warns her against Kane and be careful not to trust him, that he doesn't share everything, or that he's probably not sharing everything with her. So then later, Kane shows up, and he has a surprise for Arwen. And the surprise, her family is there, and he held true to his word about finding them. So later that night, Kane ends up sneaking into Arwen's room, goes into her bed, they get a little cozy, the attraction and heat and desire is building, and then they start doing a little finger bang. They start doing a little finger bang, and like her world is being rocked, literally, because now the castle is under fucking attack. So Amber, Garnet, and the Fae King are at their door, and they're being overpowered. So the Onyx and Peridot crew decide that they have to evacuate through the cave systems to get to the coves, to take a ship and get the fuck out of there. And so Lay is missing. Kane and Arwen go to find her, and where do they find her? In the stables. But guess who else shows up? Chicken shit little Halden, that little manipulative bastard. Anyways, so Cain and Arwen start to fight Halden and his cronies, and then so they all die except for Halden. So Arwen just knocks him out. She should have fucking killed him. I knew it. And then so Arwen, they all need to make the great escape, but they're being overpowered yet again by all of these soldiers and other bros. And so Cain unleashes his fatal Shadow Daddy powers. Woo! But it kind of scares Arwen and Leigh a little bit, but they end up making it to the cove, and Cain catches up. And then so when they're there, they're so close, they see Mari and the ships and everybody else, and that's when the evil Fae King makes his grand entrance. And also his power is that he can enter the mind. So I kind of think of it like a Daimati. Yeah, so kind of like mind speak, but I guess. Anyways, so now they're being held captive right there on the beach, and the evil king does his villain monologue, and he reveals that Arwen is actually part of a prophecy, a part of that prophecy, and that King knew. So she's kind of hurt. You know, he lied again to her. So basically, the prophecy is that Arwen is the other last full-blooded Fae, and the only one that can kill the evil Fae King with the blade of the sun. So this is the blade that actually Cain had in the vault, and it had gone missing years before. So she's the only one that can kill him with this blade, but both of them have to die in order to save everyone. So basically, she's fated to die. And Cain and the evil king transform into their beast forms, and they take their fight into the sky. So Cain is our pet dragon, and the evil king is a wyvern. Arwen and Leigh make it to the ship, and just when, you know, they're reuniting with everybody, the enemies shoot arrows onto the ship's deck, and unfortunately Arwen's mom is hit. So right at the last moment, you know, Arwen's mom is telling her that she knew all along that she was a Fae. And then her mom dies. Arwen, in her rage, her fury, her sorrow, she unleashes her powers like she's never done before. Like she's never done before, and she ends up killing all of the enemies on the beach and in the sky. So now that there's no more enemies, they start to make their way to the Citrine. They sail their way to the kingdom of Citrine. So because they're going to be on the ship for a little while, Arwen decides to have a chat with Cain in order to clear the air. Everybody else went under deck, and Cain confesses, because he is our morally gray, dark-haired shadow daddy. He confesses that he was willing to sacrifice the world in order to keep her alive. And in that moment, Arwen decides that she is going to make the choice to sacrifice herself to end the war and save everybody else. And she ends up ending things with Cain. Our hearts are crushed. So that is where A Dawn of Onyx leaves us. If there are any series that you want summary recaps on, you can comment below. And if you enjoyed the summary recap, please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow book lovers and anyone who might find this helpful. And I really appreciate it. Next, we'll be doing A Promise of Peridot to continue with the series. Thanks for joining.